Good morning, viewers from across the globe. This is welcoming you to ART Studios from Delta State, particularly from Asaba here. And we are also hooking up with our studios in Abuja, where Mary will be joining us very shortly. And of course, we do know, we are hopeful that before the end of the program, that Daddy Chris will also be joining us from the UK studio, from that's particularly in London. And this morning we shall be looking at the various newspapers in order to use them to analyze the issues of the day with respect to the democratic evolution in Nigeria, the economic trend, and the things that are going on, the social, cultural trend, in order to contribute and set agenda with respect to how our nation can function better in terms of leadership engagement and in terms of delivery of democratic dividend. But it's not a job that somebody can do alone. I have with me here in the studio Sir Fred Odo, a veteran journalist, incisive analyst, and an encyclopedia of issues and knowledge with respect to how things have been done. I'm just Fred. Simply Fred. That reminds me of the argument Guardian at some point. Simply Mister.
Yes.
No chief, no doctor,
this
and
no
no
honorable.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
good morning. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So we will also be hooking up with Abuja studio, where Mary is also on ground to lead us through a whole number of newspaper. I am Godfrey Obaka, incidentally anchoring in this particular edition. But before we go to the newspapers, we want to take a look at, good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
How is Abuja?
Fine, sir. How
is Abuja this morning? Okay, Asaba is okay. Asaba is doing okay. Yeah, thank you so very much, Mary. So please, together, we will be doing it, and we have seen how the economy has functioned over the years. And in fact, this was the topic that Daddy Chris himself has introduced with respect to the how expedient it is for us to regenerate Nigeria. How were we doing it before? How are things going on now? And are there ways we can do it better? But in this edition, we want to take a closer look at the economy. Yes, there was a time that the economy in this nation was diversified, and we didn't concentrate on just looking at oil. And at some point, we had manufacturers. A number of goods were being manufactured in this nation, and jobs were easily created. And we saw a situation where certain departments in federal institutions, if you come out with a first class or a good 2-1, there are industries that are waiting to just pick you up in your particular area. And job creation was not an issue. That was where we were. But today we are in a situation where a number of these manufacturers are relocating, incidentally, to neighboring countries. So, Sir Fred, what are the reasons for this relocation that has led to a deindustrialization process, a situation where an industry is located here, apparently doing well from the outsider's perspective today, and tomorrow we hear they have decided to move over to Ghana? What do you think could be responsible for this trend?
It's simply lack of confidence in what we have in the country, lack of integrity. Because I recall that just like you said, Shell was thick in the past. We had Shell, we had Dumez, a construction company, we had Leventis, we had Dunlop, and some other Michelin and the rest of them. They were all here doing well and employing the people, and the economy was buoyant. People were just, you come out, you have money in your pocket, you buy, you have value for whatever you are buying. But now it's no longer so. And at that time, remember, we had our own products that made us tick. We had cocoa. I mean, in the West, we had cocoa, which was just the main thrust of the economy. We had cotton, we had granite in the north, we had coal in the southeast. I remember that not too long ago, tapping of rubber in Delta was a very big business. People were doing it and they were surviving on it. So these things are no longer there. But if you ask me, I attribute everything to our political system and weak institutions. That's just because that is the trade that is linking every other issue that we have now. So these companies that have left, the economy is not suitable for them. There's problem of power.
Generation.
We have poor road network. Yeah. We have insecurity. We have corruption. So all these are issues that it got a point where they could no longer cope, especially that of insecurity. We heard of some of their workers being kidnapped and even killed, and the government didn't appear to be forthcoming with solution to such problems. So they had no option than to relocate. So it's not left for us to see what we can do as a nation, build our integrity, build trust in these people so that they can come back.
Thank you so very much. Some have tried to highlight policy inconsistency. Some have also tried to play up the issues of multi-taxation.
Yes.
In some other climes, for you to encourage investors, you say come in and invest, and for the next 5 years until you stabilize, don't pay tax. But the moment you are bringing in your items here, you have not even started off with the manufacturing process, from the community that will ask you to pay what they call DEVE, to the local government that will ask you to pay for land rate and all that, to the state. Then the federal government will come, FIRS, and all. So multiple layers of taxation. At the end of the day, increasing cost of production. And by the way, you also find out that the cost of production is bloated on a daily basis, because you after paying for public power supply, you also have to pay for your own generation of your own power.
Yes, because you have to fuel your generator.
There was a time we had to visit some struggling industrialists in Nnewi, and they said the only thing that they were asking from the Nigerian government was just give them stable power. And they know what they could do, because that they call it the Japan also of Nigeria.
Yes.
But you find out that you have an economy that is being propelled by generator propelled economy. At the end of the day, you will pay the public power supply bill, then you pay for your generator, and the cost of production is high. Then, comparatively speaking, you find out that the same product you are manufacturing here, you can't compete in the market. You can't compete in the market because some other countries, decide to make here dumping ground.
Yes.
They bring in, that was basically what killed our textile mills and all that. They bring in theirs, and theirs is for a lower rate. And meanwhile, the value of the Naira had been so devalued, and we just could not compete. And today we have people we are bringing out from the universities, and they are not getting employed. And the environment is getting,
some are not even employable.
Then the environment is getting more unfriendly. So we want to bring in Abuja now. Mary, from Abuja studio. How, by your thinking, can we make our environment to be friendlier for investors? because we cannot continue like this. They are exiting in droves, moving over to Ghana and some other. And what they do is they go there, they retain their manufacturing, and they come in here and bring the goods and sell. We are the loser at the end of the day, because for our people to get employed, they possibly need to move over there. And their economies are growing and ours is coming down. So please, can you come in and enlighten us a bit on how can we change this trajectory?
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll agree with what Mr. Fred said. It's just the truth. The thing is, first of all, we have to make our country a livable place. Because whether we like it or not, there is no product coming from our Nigerian farms that will not yield good money. There is no way we convert these things, right, into money that will not make it here in Nigeria. But the problem is, well, I would just say the fear. People can't even find themselves doing this anymore. The fear of insecurity. Even if you say, okay, apart from insecurity, let's establish this some of these things. Let's see how we can use them in making money. You come to find out that the money you pay as expenses for these things are beyond what you're getting. For example, in terms of electricity, we have electricity issue here in Nigeria, whereby even the other day, I think on the punch, you read where they say most of our traders, right, they spend like how many percent of the money they make on fuel, trying to make sure that they have light because there's no power supply, which is really not a good one, right? And also, most of the places here in Nigeria have bad roads. In as much as we say road is not the the basis of knowing that a particular minister or governor has worked, it's still a trade. You get, because it's not everywhere that people want to enter. If the road is not good, you wouldn't want to bring in your cars to that place. So it has to do with we not extracting money from these people when they want to do these things. Just like you made mention of FIRS, there are other revenue revenue organizations that always want to extract money from these people. You understand? And if we can still make Nigeria a livable place, when I talk about livable place, a comfortable place that people can stay. As regards insecurity, security is one of the major issues why people are leaving. People do not find the need to want to come here and invest. People do not find the need to want to come here and do something. Meanwhile, it is still the product we are making here from our farms that people are taking outside other country to manufacture and come back again to sell it to us. It's a bad one. So we have to fight over the I would say the sickness of insecurity in this country, so that people can come here and do a lot of things instead of leaving the country, where I think Nigeria should have even been better than. You know, imagine Nigeria is going to Ghana, going to Benin Republic, and we are happy going to these small countries that are just like one state in Nigeria. Doesn't make any sense at all. You understand? You are talking about electricity. If you even go there, you'll be so annoyed that if you go to a street here in Nigeria, a lot of people are putting on generator in their businesses just to make sure that they can actually survive in that business. And you know how much fuel is. How many fuel can you buy? How many liters can sustain you for a day? How long will you keep doing this? If you're not making profit, there's no way you want to forge ahead. So that's the problem. We need to start looking at this. And these are the problems first before we talk about why we are not manufacturing in Nigeria, why we don't have companies that are doing these jobs. How much are they spending in wanting to even go into this kind of business? It's beyond whatever you think they might be getting. So which is not healthy, I think.
Thank you so very much. And it's also a very worrisome development that even the governments, they have a way of paying very lip service, political sloganeering. They pay lip service to development of agriculture. You hear them talk about green revolution, and I think that was a Shagari government.
Yes.
It talked about green revolution, and I remember Professor Chinua Achebe telling us that the green revolution as a food security program at the end of the day gave us more food for thought than food on our table. It gave us more food for thought because all the harvest and the food boom was on the television. and you didn't affect the price, appear to have changed the narrative. We'll still spend so much money, trying to promote agri development programs that are just like paper tigers, that are just like programs that we see in the media. But at the end of the day, we cannot feel the tangible impact on how that has helped with
You see
producing
most of
food
this.
on
Look at the
the
screen now. You
table.
see most of these industries that are displayed on the screen. Most of them, you find out that they are not even using. We don't even have electricity to sustain it. It might be that they have all this kind of lister, all those big generators, right, that will supply them light to be able to function. So imagine you having this kind of industries here in Nigeria. They are going to suffer a lot because we don't have the resources to keep them. That's just the truth. We don't have it. We have to start with, first of all, having sufficient electricity. Not like we will not be able to do well here in Nigeria. But the thing is, the right thing to do is the problem. Honestly, we have a lot of industries
Yes, but there are people there are people with this initiative. There are local manufacturers with initiative. Are there no ways we can support them? Are there no ways we can come up with implementable government policies that will be pro local manufacturers? Because if we have a Dangote now that has come up with a refinery, and we have similar local initiatives that can employ people, that can create jobs and wealth, that can take people out of criminality, and our nation can be livable again. And we're able to talk with the communities and the revenue agents, and we come up with tax incentives that will make manufacturers to have a period of moratorium that they can stay and have tax exemption, a tax holiday that they can be exempted from payment of taxes until they are eventually established. Because at the end of the day, their prosperity is the prosperity of the Nigerian economy. And if we also have our people develop the taste for what we can produce here and not taste for everything must be imported, then we should be able to have a conscious policy where we support local manufacturing initiative. And when our economy is thriving, of course, we see that the foreign investors should be able to come and join us, especially if we have nipped the issue of insecurity in the bud. What is your take on that, please?
Well, like I said earlier, everything revolves around our political system. Like Charles Anagu will always say, you don't expect to find a healthy teeth in a rotten mouth. You see? So the politicians have seen politics or we have come to celebrate politics as the main business in Nigeria.
Why is that so?
Well, because of the the highly remunerated, the high remuneration that is attached to the office, political offices.
Okay.
You see, so you are talking of agric. Why would I be going to farm or support any agric this when I know that from my pocket I can confidently buy? Not even considering my neighbor who doesn't even have the purchasing power to buy the produce. So,
a nation that cannot feed its citizens cannot sufficiently lay claim to sovereignty.
That is
cannot
what I'm saying.
Lay claim to being independent.
We don't have leaders who are thinking in this direction you are talking about. That's the problem. It is self, not public interest. That's the problem we have. That's the problem we have. As I'm sitting here and I have maybe 200,000 in my pocket, I can commonly go to the market, buy 2 bags of yam, buy gari, buy this, buy that. But I know that my neighbor may not have that capacity, may not have that purchasing power to do same. So if you are talking about go to farm, that will not bother me because I know that I have the power, I have the capacity to buy. So that is the problem we have. Our leaders are not thinking, they don't have the interest of the public, of the generality of the public at heart.
I am evidently worried about our lack of concern over the level of food insecurity
That's
that
the
we
problem.
are facing, which has made life rather unbearable, in spite of our natural resources, abundant natural resources. Nations that do not have the land mass that we have are exporting goods to us, and we jump at them that they are goods that are imported. Meanwhile, we have what it takes, even as a state like Delta,
To produce
food and supply to West African countries. We have what it takes to be the food basket of West Africa, but we are not exploiting that. And for as long as we are not exploiting that, because somebody could just misappropriate fund here and there,
Exactly.
and be able to go to the market and buy and store. You will be shocked to know that some, the quantity of rice some public officers got for December. Some still have up to 30 bags or more left in their store up till now. So what incentive will such a person have to go and develop rice farm?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But at the end of the day, the trickle-down effect is such that the ordinary man out there is suffering. And we are not able to hand over a healthy legacy to our children. The legacy we are handing over to them is that of cheap wealth, cheap source of inexplainable
And that is
wealth.
why most of them go into this the so-called Yahoo because they have no other option. It's either you are in Yahoo or you are a politician. Every other this is option B. So how it's really a problem. Okay, talking about politicians now. For you to get to power, I will tell you that 70% of the people we have in power, that's elected officials now, borrowed money to prosecute their election. They borrowed billions of naira to prosecute their election. So when they get to power, their first priority is how do I recover the money I have spent? Monthly, the banks deduct from their salaries to pay back the loan. So at the end of the month, they are left with nothing. So the only option is to cut corners, get involved in corrupt practices. And they will always tell you that the end of one election is the beginning of another. So there is no end to it.
So if the end of one election is the beginning of the other, what time do we now have for administration? Because administration is what will change the trajectory of a society.
That is the issue.
Societies that have developed all over the world developed because people sat down to administer, to come up with policies that make the nations to go from one level of development to the other. But for as long as the end of one election cycle in Nigeria, you are planning for another one. Then we are in the endless circle of, making politics an investment. And that kind of investment is not service-oriented. It's gambling, and it cannot take us to anywhere. So I'm beginning to think of a situation where we can get back to what we have. We have this advantage, productive advantage in agriculture. And from agriculture, we can go into agro-allied. And from agro-allied, we can come in and make our environment friendlier so that other nations of the world will be able to key in so that Nigeria will not just be food sufficient. Nigeria should be able to have industries that can create jobs. And when the jobs are created, our youths are taken out of the road. Because is it not said that an idle mind is the devil's workshop? We have not taught our children dignity of labor, and we have not handed over skills to them. We have beautiful education policy 6334 that is supposed to say that at a stage you are able to inculcate skill in a child, but largely we are still teaching them how to be literate and how to read and write. And at the end of the day, a man that has no skill, because I'm aware that even in Ghana, in the senior secondary school, you are both doing the theory and you are doing practical. You are picking up a skill.
Yes.
And that is why, if you're setting up a structure, especially in real estate in Nigeria now, most of the skills you will find in the site are from Ghana, Togo, Benin Republic, and all that. But our people are no longer interested in picking up skills. Our people are no longer interested in dignity of labor. It's just about a quick fix thing, and how over materialized system that the politicians appear to have set up as a standard, as a culture. Where can this take us to? Mary, from Abuja, could you help us in this our attempt at setting agenda? How can we recover the destiny of this nation? Like Peter Obi once said, how can we go from the culture of consumption pattern, to that of production? How can we make our economy work again? Because the nations that have developed because their economies worked. How can our economy work for the interests of Nigeria once again? Is she with us?
Okay, well, while we wait for
yes,
Mary, let me tell you that policies that are supposed to be people-oriented, that are supposed to be churned out by the government, have largely been hijacked and politicized. That is why we find ourselves where we are today. Take, for instance, empowerment program. You have a list of 500 persons to empower. Ask me how many of this number will come by merit. That is, okay, this person needs this thing, let us give it to him or her. 90% of the names you are going to find on that list will come from politicians. At the end of the day, these people get these things. Could be cash, could be starter packs. Things, even right there, they will tell you, please don't sell these items. Don't sell these items, because they know that, as some of them are, even some buyers are already waiting. So that as the thing are being released to them, they give them cash in exchange, and they go home with those things. So those things, at the end of the day, will not apply to what they are meant for.
It does appear that Nigeria has a deliberate policy of frustrating initiative. In some other nations, when you see children who display rare talents, they are seen as gifted children.
Exactly.
And you don't bother where they come from.
You give them what
you assemble them, because those are people, they are not common. Those are people that nature has endowed your nation with, so that you can nurture them, so that the nation can explode. But in Nigeria, we hear of a young boy, maybe in a primary or secondary school, and is able to come up with an invention that can fly on its own, of a motorbike that can run with just battery and not being fueled. And at the end of the day, the question is, where is the child from? Which part of the country? Where is the school located? And the moment you say it's from the southeast or southwest, oh no, should we encourage them? They will come up, and the north will be endangered. So that has been the bane of our development, ethnic bias. If the gifted child is not from your part of the country, you do not see sufficient incentive to support such initiative for them to become assets to our nation. If anything, you want to sit on such invention. And at the end of the day, it becomes frustration, And I have heard you talk about starter packs and how it is politicized. The person you train for a couple of months and give starter packs, and at the end of the day, you expect the fellow to go and start up with something. Yes, scriptures say, who can despise the days of little beginning? But there are those who do a cost-benefit analysis and come up and tell you that how can they have given me generator, how will I be able to fuel it in order to start up as a barber? And before you know it, they feel that it is better they sell that generator, add to the money that they were given, and make efforts to leave the country. But years after, you see such people return very, very frustrated, because at the end of the day, there is actually no part of the world where you come out in the street and you are picking money.
No.
If you do not apply yourself to your environment, you cannot create wealth.
Yes.
Wealth is created. It's never picked from the street. But we need to have the right mindset and see how we can encourage our local initiatives and see how we can take our economy from where it is now, in order that we will create a Nigeria that will be safe for us. Because a child that comes out from the university 4 years after is still walking out on the street, is frustrated, any option is available to the child,
they will grab it.
just it. And that is, some of them are either getting out of the country, human trafficking is in the area, or some of them get involved in one way of cutting corner or the other. We have tried and we have attempted within this segment to set an agenda of the need, the very, very urgent need for our policy makers to rejig our policies to ensure that those things that are making our environment, the Nigerian environment, to be less friendly to investment, that we rejig them, do away with them. Let's come up with a tax holiday for our investors. Let's see how investment can become something that people will want to put their hands into again. The devaluation of the Naira that came about same time with the fuel price that went up, when the present administration was being sworn in, or again also did affect the economy, because the pressure on forex has been such that you find out that Naira is getting down by the day. A nation that does not produce, a nation that does not export, will not expect that its national currency will be strong enough to have equal purchasing power with nations that are producing. So we just must produce, so that we see what will back up that Naira that we expect will exchange fairly with other national currencies. And we also need to encourage our people to play down on foreign taste. There are people that are wonderful fashion designers in this country. They are even packaging their clothes and sending abroad. Yet, there are some of us that, no matter how wonderful the clothes that are made in Aba, we say, oh, it's made in Aba. That sounds derogatory.
Yes.
The way Japan then was telling you made in China was made in China, or Taiwan was derogatory. But today, you see that they have all come up. And we should also see how to play up the agro sector, because it pains that Malaysia that came to Naifo here in Benin and picked up some seedling, palm seedling. Today, they are doing wonders all over the world with palm oil production. And we are even trying to import from them. So we actually need to consciously, deliberately rejig our economic policy so that our economy can work better. This consumption doesn't help, and we must invest. Our banks, by the way, should also, our banks give loan to politicians, because they know that if you win,
you pay back.
It's big investment. You pay back. You pay back big.
You will not run away.
So politics has become an enterprise, has become an investment. To what extent is taking us to where we should be? That's expected El Dorado. It's another question entirely. You understand? But somebody has a thriving poultry, and he has been able to employ like 30 persons there. And he wants to see how to expand the scope so that he can bring in some veterinary doctors and see how the place can thrive with egg production and the protein production and all that. and you are telling him that we do not give loan to people in the agri sector because you don't have a collateral with which to. What the question is, what collateral did the politician give to you before you granted him the loan? So
the truth is that some of the politicians sold their property, or use them as collateral to be able to secure the loans. That is just the truth. So, but the issue is that you are in the National Assembly, you are in the State Assembly. It is sure that you are there and you are not running away. So, and your salary is another collateral, because once the thing lands, bam, bam, the bank takes. You see? So at this point, while we are talking about the multinationals, we should also be talking about the small and medium scale enterprises, SMEs. At this point, I want to commend the Delta State government for the initiative, to at least come midway, towards helping serious-minded entrepreneurs. We are at a program, I went with them the other day, planting a value chain. You will be amazed at the products that were on display at the exhibition. Beautiful products, marketable products, products. And at that point, there was this assurance that 1 billion naira had been set aside, to be given out at a single-digit interest to the serious-minded ones. So this kind of initiative is commendable. Young ones, if you see, you need to see them. They gave testimonies of how they started, where they are now, and where they expect to be in the nearest future. And it was very encouraging. So such are the initiatives that we require our persons in power. It's not just the government. A member of the House of Representatives could do that. Or somebody in the Senate can do that. Even in the House of Assembly can organize, maybe ask them to form cooperatives or clusters. Put the money, not give the money to individuals, put it there and let it be a source of funding for those of them engaged in some of these activities. And before you know it, they will all be self-reliant and also employers of labor, coupled with what the state government is doing. So I just needed to bring this point so that apart from the issue of the multinationals that have exited, at least the ones we have locally, the SMEs, should be encouraged, to grow so that the economy also can be better for it.
And perhaps we should be able to rejig the nation's security architecture.
Yes.
Because once life is safe, the safety of lives and property. Then, of course, because some of the expatriates we still find around, some of the investors we still find around, you see them going about with their private security. And their private security, that is adding to the production cost. It's adding to the production cost. So at the end of the day, you begin to find out that it's about check and balances. They check it. What is it costing me to remain in this economy? Should I move over to a neighboring country? What will be the gain and the losses? And if at the end of the day, they find out that it is better for them to move, then of course you find out that the essence of being in business is to make profit. And anything that eats into your profit, you must guide against it. We expect Mary from Abuja to round up this segment by setting agenda for the federal government on how can we restore our economy and make our environment to be more investment friendly. Round up this segment for us, and after that, we should now be able to go on a short break. Then we return, we take a very close look at the headlines in the various newspapers. Mary, over to you.
Okay, I think the federal government, they have a huge role to play as regards the topic of discussion today, in the sense that they need to start having, first of all, as interest, because if you don't have interest in something, there's no way to work. When they start putting these things as interest, it starts to do, they're working on the insecurity in the country. And apart from insecurity, they can also enable this by a kind of encouraging people to want to go into manufacturing. if capital is the issue, there should be a way whereby funds are being raised, maybe given to people as loans, and later on they pay back, just as we have the student loans, right? Where people, they say it's easy for students to want to go to school right now, apply for the loans. Why can't we also put such measures when it comes to business, where people can apply for loans, and it's just like a form of capital for them to start up a business? Because there are a lot of people with bunch of talent, creativity, but there's no money to want to delve into the kind of business they want to. And also work on the electricity in the country, so that people even outside Nigeria will want to come and invest here in Nigeria, because when there are a lot of investment, the country will excel. But if people of last year, because they feel like the high rate of things in Nigeria is affecting the business. No electricity, insecurity issues. So they don't want to keep on investing in such a country. So first of all, it's about the government having our interest at heart, and see how they can actually make this work for Nigerian people. Because if they don't have it at heart at first, then there's no way it's gonna work. That's just the truth. And that's my take on it. So
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Nigeria is a nation full of potentials and potentialities, but we should not allow the nation to remain at the level of potentialities. Let's translate these potentialities into development opportunities, so that instead of people leaving the nation in drove, we should all stay in here and see what we can make out of this economy in order to impact on lives, so that the standard of living can improve and our economy can work and impact on other nations of the world. I think,
Government, before we leave this segment,
Yes.
this issue of power, because I remember that there was this idea of power sector reform that the federal government wanted to drive, and I also remember that or recall that our brother Elumelu at a point tried to look into the problems of the power sector, which almost claimed his life because of the threats he received. So why is it at our age now, at 65, we cannot even boast of electricity for 10 good hours a day? Of the economic problem we have. If you have a barbing salon, remember that at a time in this country, you could find old rooms around where fish sellers, perishable goods sellers kept their items for the next day, and they paid just a little to preserve them because there was constant electricity. But these days, you hardly find any cold room around because of no steady power. And to power such a thing on gen is not a joke. So how long will it take us, just before we round up this segment?
yes, Sir Fred.
Sir
Fred, you just reminded me of my mom. You know, she had a standard saying that until another liar, liar lies to himself, he wouldn't know that he has started lying. You know, Nigeria as a nation has lied to itself. It is the payment, you know, the remuneration for lying to ourselves. Because we've had people in government that will position somebody as a minister of power, and we had votes, budgetary provision for power
Going to
and
have somebody else.
development of infrastructure in power. Because come to think of it, our population has been expanding.
Yes.
So the level of consumption is
And
expanding.
increase.
So we need to update our infrastructure. And so budgetary provision over the years have been going into enlarging the operational framework of the power sector. But we were using it to fund election. We were using it to fund certain political parties. You know, so it goes in and we bring it out this way. And that was lying to ourselves. And there is always a payback time. So today we are in a payback time. And that is the tragedy, that for long we lied to ourselves.
And now we are paying for it.
Now we are paying for it. So we look forward to a generation that can stand the gap and say, no, it is dangerous to lie to oneself. We have not done well. Let us restore the power issue. Today we are diversifying, from hydro to solar to this. But for true industrial manufacturing, we still need, every day we are told that the national grid is collapsing.
Yes.
And the irony of it all is that in the midst of that collapse, we are still supplying to Niger,
Benin Republic.
And what we hear is that it doesn't blink there. But here it is collapsing. You are not taking care of your family, and you have a conduit through which you are supplying food to your neighbors. That is the trajectory and the tragedy of a nation that has consistently lied to itself. But I think the other issues you want to bring up, we want to save them for other day.
Yeah.
While we go on a short break, and when we resume, Mary will drive the headlines in the national papers from Abuja. Thank you so very much for investing your time following us on all the electronic channels and all the social media platforms. Thank you so very much.
Nigeria Week London 2025. It's time to celebrate the pulse of Africa's most exciting nation. Nigeria Week London 2025 is coming to Hippodrome Theatre from July 24th to 26, 2025, showcasing the best in Nigerian arts, music, fashion, and investment opportunities. Whether you're looking to discover the future of real estate, explore Nigeria's culinary masterpieces, or get immersed in an electric Afrobeat performance, this is the event of the year. You can also join us for a film festival, cultural dance spectacles, and the recognition awards. Don't miss out on the business opportunities and cultural experiences waiting for you. Book your tickets now before they're gone on eventbrite.co.uk. Call or text +447 438 893 190 or 080 330 46768 or +447 459 071 747. Visit our website superiorradioandtelevision.com. Nigeria Week London 2025. Nigeria Week London 2025, celebrating the best of Nigeria, is partnered with Civil Society, scaling up nutrition in Nigeria.
Find your sanctuary in the heart of the city. Live the life you deserve in an exquisite apartment. SRTV Luxury Shortlet Apartment, Lagos, is a place where your comfort is rest assured. Welcome to SRTV Shortlet Apartment, part of the prestigious SRTV Real Estate family. Why choose us? Prime location, nestled in the heart of Lagos, close to key attractions, business hubs, and vibrant nightlife. Modern interiors, fully furnished, stylish apartments designed to provide the ultimate comfort. Luxury redefined, vacation perfected. 24/7 security. Enjoy peace of mind with round-the-clock security and CCTV surveillance. Top-notch amenities, high-speed Wi-Fi, smart TV, air conditioning, fully equipped kitchen, and lots more. Perfect for business travelers, family vacations, romantic getaways, special events, and more. Book your stay today and experience Lagos like never before. Call +234 8143 582856 or +447 4388 93190 or email us at realestate@superiorradioandtelevision.com. SRTV Shortlet Apartment, where comfort meets luxury.
Okay, viewers, welcome once again to ART Studio, streaming live from Delta State. In this segment, we shall be looking at the headlines in the in the papers, so that it will give us the opportunity to actually, they say journalism is a history made in a hurry. As we look at this headline and run commentary on them, we should be able to see in what way is our society moving, and how can it move better and be safer for all of us to achieve our optimum. So I think it's on that note that we want to welcome once again Mary from Abuja studio as we take a look at the papers. Mary, over to you.
Okay, the big story on the Punch. We have Accountant General of the Federation moves to defend Tinubu as PDP governors mobilize 11 SANs. And the rider says, Fagbemi drafts Supreme Court response. PDP berates president.
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
Hint, okay, at Fubara's return. And these stories are on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. That's the big story.
Yeah, Fred, I think that's the Attorney General. Attorney General of the Federation moves to defend Tinubu as PDP governors mobilize 11 senior advocates of Nigeria. That has to do with Fubara.
Yes.
It took time for PDP governors to put their hands together and move over to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And they are simply asking a historic question. The president has decided to dislodge the democratic structures of Rivers State. And those who are carrying the sacred mandate of the people of Rivers State have been suspended for 6 months. And now you have a sole administrator in the person of a retired military officer. How democratic is that? How constitutional is that? That is what the 11 governors of PDP, after their meeting in Ibadan and in some other places, decided to come up with. And expecting that the Supreme Court will now give a ruling concerning that. So the Attorney General of the Federation is preparing a defense while the PDP governors have assembled their senior advocates. What's your expectation on this, Fred?
Well, I think it's a constitutional matter. From my own layman's point of view, I interacted with some lawyers, and they said that the president lacked the authority or lacked the power to make that pronouncement. That's the state of emergency of a thing, that the president lacked it, and that if it is challenged, that it could fly. So maybe that's why the PDP governor, based on that, maybe that's why the PDP governor had the courage or were encouraged to go, to pursue that case. But what matters again is our judiciary. Will they really interpret the law or the constitution the way it is, or will it? Are we still going to see a judgment in favor of a particular group or a particular person? That remains a question for the judiciary to answer. But I know that constitutionally, even if you sack the chief executive, who is the governor, the symbol of democracy, which is the House of Assembly, ought to have remained. From my own, that's my own expectation, ought to have remained, because that shows that democracy is still there, but the man who is at the head is on suspension. So, okay, now the man who is the sole administrator, on which laws is going to operate? Which laws is going to work with? Because going forward, there must be issues concerning that, the areas that he needs law to make some administrative pronouncements. But without the House of Assembly now, he won't be able to do that. We have the judiciary in place, the House of Assembly, which is the symbol of democracy. You dissolved, even as the president has sacked the executive. So I don't know. It's left for the judiciary.
So the move of the PDP governors is a historic one.
Yes.
So what it also means is that the Supreme Court has a historic opportunity to see if it can redeem itself. Or otherwise, if it does not, is seen as extension of
the executive.
So that really is it.
And even the governor himself is hopeful. He's hopeful.
Yes. He should be hopeful. He should be hopeful. I think in one of the papers, I saw a headline that Topolo is telling people not to worry that he is coming back. That is so cool. And when people like that speak, then of course you know that oil is speaking. And when oil is speaking, of course you know that the government has a way of having a meeting point. Most things are decided at night.
Yes.
They only come into full manifestation in the daytime. That's what we see play out. You know. So Mary, please, can you take us through a few more headlines, please, either from Punch or the other papers?
Okay, still on the Punch.
Yes.
We have
Okay, the Punch. Okay.
autonomy. 774 local governments challenge federal government state in court on Tuesday, and that story is on page 9. Presidency dismisses
Okay.
U.S. court order on Tinubu article differs on page 8. Federal government rolls out flood preparedness campaign 30 high-risk states on page 7.
Yeah.
Still on the Punch.
So I think it's a major news development in the day. There's a major news development in the day, and it has to do with a fellow who has a U.S. court tried the FOI law in Nigeria, Freedom of Information Act. And the court has said, based on that, whatever information as a researcher, whatever information that the FBI has concerning Tinubu should be made public, as it has to do with investigation in the 90s with respect to drug trafficking and all that. Yes, Atiku is saying that it's not going to be business as usual, that there are some fresh angles that will emerge. While the presidency is saying that there is nothing new to that court judgment. There is nothing new. That everything in that judgment has been in the public domain. But something strikes me. If you aspire for leadership, then you must try to see that your records are clean and credible. So because by the time you are talking, presidency will be telling you there's nothing is shaking us. There's nothing new there. But between the time of that judgment and now, you will see that international lobbyists will be moving about. And so much of our revenue goes into such lobbying and such settling. Whereas if you keep your trajectory right and keep your records clean, such things will not be very, very necessary. Mary, do you have Guardian with you?
Guardian, yes.
Do you have Guardian with you? Can we take the lead story on the front page, talking about labor lamenting high cost of living, and braces for wage renegotiation? You have it there?
Yes, the Guardian.
Labor laments high cost of living, braces for wage renegotiation. Some establishments have not been able to pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage.
Even some states.
Then the 70, is it 70? 70 now came. Now Labour is bracing to renegotiate this from 70 to possibly 120. And at the end of the day, we have wage laws that are not practically implementable.
What of those who are not on wage?
The majority who are not on wage. You understand? But the touchy aspect of that story is that Labour is lamenting high cost of living. It's biting hard everywhere.
Let me tell you, when this issue of wage, that's wage award or whatever they call it,
yes,
came up, I was one of the persons who condemned. In fact, I never supported the idea of any increase in wage. It's just that the labor leaders we have now, I don't know where to place them. As far as I'm concerned, they sold out. Because my own belief that they should have talked about bringing down the price of fuel, first of all. Because this fuel issue is the arrowhead of all the issues we have. I'm talking about the cost of living now. If they had said, held the government strong and said, bring down this fuel to say 250 or 300 naira per liter. Forget about whether subsidy or no subsidy. After all, were we not surviving when subsidy was there? Even if it is going to be that's our own national cake, that subsidy is going to be our national cake. Let's have it. Bring down this price to 250 or 300. They said no, they needed a salary increase. Now I think it's not 250 they talked about initially. They negotiated and came to 70,000. Immediately, even before the salary was paid, house rent shot up, transport, bam, everything went up. Okay, now he's realizing that we are passing through a high cost of living, and you want a further increase. I don't subscribe to that, and I don't see any government, any realistic government that is going to add 1 naira to what we already have now. Because if you do that, what we have now, they have. I think a flat is going to almost 800 or 1 million now. It will go to 1.5. So they should sit down and know what they want and how to go about it. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, I think
yes, I agree with Mr. Fred. Truly, when Labour was saying they should increase minimum wage, I knew there would be a problem. The problem started with them saying they should increase the minimum wage instead of trying to tell them to reduce the price of fuel. Because even if you take minimum wage to 100,000, it is still not enough.
We used to have price control board. You remember?
Yes.
We used to have price control board.
Yes.
But the way it is now, government does not even have the moral justification to set up such a board.
100,000 has no value. It has no value now today in Nigeria. So it is not fighting for minimum wage.
Okay, are you on salary?
Then
as we speak now, you're on salary.
Minimum wage.
You're not on salary. Okay, if you now a government worker, you are looking for further increase. What about those who are not on salary? How do they survive?
Yes, well, you're even talking about minimum wage. That is for the government sector. What about those that work in the private sector? Does it affect them? Is it applicable to them as well? So there have been them reducing the price of things in the market. That is price control policy would have been one thing that would have been put in place. Yeah. And also they're working on how this fuel can be reduced. Because even if you reduce the price of food today, why it will not still go down in the market is that they will tell you that the transport of them that they pay going to get it and coming back to their particular areas of where they sell is another thing. So they now blame everything on transportation.
The critical sectors are getting out of the reach of the ordinary man.
Yes.
You can't buy food with which you can feed an average family. Transportation has become an issue. Many who still have vehicles cannot fuel their vehicle. You understand? And you now talk of rent, and the person who develop the property will tell you the price of rod and the price of other
cement and other things
and all that. You know, so basically, like Sanfred has tried to say, until we are able to regulate the price, until we are able to have a price control agency that should be functional and regulate certain, but they tell you that they leave that is deregulated, that is a function of forces of demand and supply. Then, but there's the danger in a society that goes on without some level of regulation. So that appears to be the danger, especially it has to do with fuel that we produce and we are now refining. And we were promised that if Dangote comes up on stream,
that the price was going to come down.
Local refineries are back, and we are being told that a number of the local refineries are back now. That the price that went up to
come down
1,900 and something in some places should be able to come down to something as reasonable as 400 and not beyond 500. But for as long as that is not being done, then of course it's like things are getting a bit more difficult, and you find out that is also how some people become more desperate to get out of the poverty bracket.
Yes.
And they begin to experiment certain things that are unheard of in some other climes. Mary, please, can we take one or two more headlines before we round it up?
Still on the Guardian, we have 2027. ADP admits gang up to unseat Tinubu as Uzodinma dismisses coalition. And that's on page 3. Nothing new to review. Presidency dismisses US court on Tinubu's drug case. on page 3. Ndume raises alarm over renewed Boko Haram attack in Borno, seizure of local government areas on page 6. Still on the Guardian, we have Hureba condemns systematic dismantling of democratic structures in rivers, and that story is on page 9. UN chief Sanusi orders to remember Chibok girls at 11 in London on page 5. So we have Labour leaders allege federal government exploitation petition ILO UN on page 5. Code of conduct Bureau to check corruption with asset declaration system on page 7. We have a Jega Fort varsities over rush of honorary awards to unworthy characters on page 5. Okay, I think these are all the
Mary, thank you
stories we
so
have.
very much. Thank you very much. We have virtually in all the papers, we have front page photographs that emanated from yesterday's activities in Christendom that had to do with the triumphant entry. You know, what they call Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday. So that's the activities of Palm Sunday, ushering us into the week of Passion, preparatory for Easter, the Holy Week, preparatory for Easter. So interestingly, if you do a content analysis, you find out that all the newspapers have photographs of that, which reflects the season we are in. It's also very, very instructive that in one of the papers, I saw a headline where the president, Bola Tinubu, is pleading with people to stop campaigning for him until INEC, the umpire, blows the whistle. 2027, please stop campaigning for me yet until INEC blows the whistle. And I found that very, very interesting. He's pleading with them, please stop campaigning for me until the whistle is blown. And I want to ask, who are they campaigning for? You understand? When was he out of the previous elections? He has not gone midway into the 4-year term. And we go from one election cycle to another election cycle.
I told you the end of one election
is the beginning of another one. You know, so until we come up with a serious-minded people in government who should be able to sit down, do appraisal and self-application to see how governance can impact on the living, on the people, on the land, then we may just be doing going around what is happening now. I think on that note, Mary, you could take through just one more so that we could call it a day.
Okay, let's see the Tribune. The Tribune paper. The big story on the Tribune, we have how Supreme Court rulings landed deeply. Labour Party in further crisis. The rider says Abure remains in charge. Labour Party spokesman as Apapa Nena delays claim. PDP in limbo as member await decisions on Ayaun Ude coming from Okoye. Our internal mechanisms we decide way forward. And this coming from Ologun Naba. And that story is on page 22. Still on the
Tribune from the founding fathers from the days of Awolowo is predominantly political.
Yes.
So they are now telling us how the Supreme Court ruling has put opposition in disarray. Most of the things the opposition parties are going through are actually the machination, the contrivances of the ruling party in order to weaken the opposition. Countdown to 2027. It's on that note that we want to appreciate you for being there in Abuja. Thank you so very much. And Fred, thank you so very much for coming together and setting agenda to see how our nation can be better. Same time, same studio. Tomorrow, let's do it again on ART Studio, streaming live from Asaba, connecting Abuja, and hopefully UK connecting us. Thank you so very much for being there. Thank you for your time. And thank you for investing in this. Tomorrow we'll do it together again. God bless you.
Thank you.
Nigeria Week London 2025. It's time to celebrate the pulse of Africa's most exciting nation. Nigeria Week London 2025 is coming to Hippodrome Theatre from July 24th to 26th, 2025, showcasing the best in Nigerian arts, music, fashion, and investment opportunities. Whether you're looking to discover the future of real estate, explore Nigeria's culinary masterpieces, or get immersed in an electric Afrobeat performance, this is the event of the year. You can also join us for a film festival, cultural dance spectacles, and the recognition awards. Don't miss out on the business opportunities and cultural experiences waiting for you. Book your tickets now before they're gone on eventbrite.co.uk. Call or text +447 438 893 190 or 080 330 46768 or +447 459 071 747. Visit our website superiorradioandtelevision.com. Nigeria Week